And rolling. All right. Hi, guys. Today I am here with Mark Korte. Mark is a Canadian football offensive lineman for the Ottawa REDBLACKS in the CFL. He was drafted in the first round, the 4th overall pick in the 2018 draft, and signed on with the REDBLACKS and has been a starting tackle for the past season. And assuming there's a season coming up, should be hopefully in the same spot, but we'll see if we're playing football anytime soon. This is honestly straight out of his Wikipedia page. Dude has a Wikipedia page, which you've made it when. So with that being said, welcome, Mark. It's great to have you on. Great to see you again.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, good to see you again.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And so Mark is actually spending his off season out in around Edmonton, where he's from. So how have you been spending your time off, Mark?
So it's been a good, I got back here mid-November and then started up right away. I had finished this time last year, I had finished my commerce degree. So when I got back, then I started up with a place that I had done an internship with in college, working with my major, which was human resources. So went into their HR department and started kind of being one of their extra people that could help them out where they needed it, doing a lot of recruiting stuff. So I've been working with that 3 days a week. So that kind of keeps me busy, and it leaves my Mondays and Fridays are kind of my heavy training days. So Mondays and Fridays are just kind of training and eating and sleeping and, enjoying having an off season. So, so that's kind of been the most of it. Is the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays are, usually a quick workout in the morning and then get to the office. And then Mondays and Fridays are usually a longer workout, eat well, sleep well, hang out on the couch. And then weekends are spent with new fiance. So that's always
Congrats
good.
on that, by the way.
Yeah, thanks. So see lots of her and kind of help take care of her a little bit because she spends half the year alone. So try to do my part around the house. And yeah, so that's the bulk of my off season is hanging around Edmonton. And
And then, so with things having, I think, shut down pretty well everywhere around Edmonton, have you noticed much of a change in your day-to-day?
Yeah, it's shaken up my day-to-day quite a bit. Thankfully, our office, we're pretty ahead of the curve. So we got everybody, well, not everybody, but me and kind of our team and most people that can work from home are working from home. And my gym's closed. So basically lately I usually drive Tiana to work in the morning and pick her up when she's done, and that's basically my one outing of the day. And other than that, I work at home. I'm kind of making do with what I got in terms of workouts. So, got some bands and stuff around the house that I can do some body weight stuff, some home workout stuff. Thankfully the weather's nice, so I can do it out on my patio and get some fresh air. But yeah, kind of with all the closures, it's a lot of time at home and a lot of video chats and stuff with people at work, and so managing, but it's definitely a shake up in life.
Well, that I believe. So I'm going to get you, if you don't mind, to expand a little bit on probably each of those, but the one that jumps at me is as an O-lineman, you got to be throwing around a lot of weight all the time. I know generally training tends to be pretty more akin to a powerlifting type of trying to make sure you can move that weight, obviously with some explosive motions and everything else built in. But how are you trying to adapt to the training you need to be able to do in a time where all the gyms are closed?
Yeah, that's a good question, because you're right. A lot of it, a lot of my training, especially I think for a lot of offensive linemen similarly, is based off of kind of like an adapted powerlifting type of system. So it's tough when you just have bands and body weight stuff. You can't really, max out and really build that strength like you need to. So it's kind of it really is just making do with what you have and trying to make it work. The thing that's kind of a saving grace is right now is that everybody, across the league and everyone that you're going to be competing with we're all in the same boat. Whether you're Canadian, American, wherever you live, everybody's gym is closed. So it's kind of, unfortunately, it's dragging us down, but it's dragging us all down. So it's kind of one of those things that you'll be able to catch up at the same rate as everybody else. And so it's kind of the focus is kind of switched from, how do we really build maximum strength and really develop physically into, how do we not put on too much bad weight, and how do we kind of maintain what we have through kind of a temporary disruption, and then kind of be ready to go and back to it when it's able to. And then it kind of, I mean, on the other hand, it kind of presents some opportunities to get healthy too. You're forced to basically do mobility stuff a little more and do band stuff, and you don't really have the option of putting 600 pounds on your back, and that's obviously very good to do, but it's got its downsides too. So forced into a bit of a health thing too. So yeah.
Well, and yeah, I guess with the different training, do you expect with the season slowly coming up and everybody having to train a little differently to see a bit of a difference in potentially how the O-lines have to operate just based on what people have been able to train for?
Yeah, I think training camp's going to be interesting. And you get a bunch of guys that haven't been able to train the way they're used to, and kind of throw them all in there. I think it's going to change the way, yeah. I mean, our systems will all be the same, I think, realistically, because they're kind of ingrained for probably the last 20 years. I think that's not going to change, but I think it'll be interesting training camp to see how guys react to it, and, the different places guys are at, who was able to maintain and who ended up losing. And so I guess we'll see.
Yeah, well, and in terms of the adapted training, I've seen a lot of guys trying to deadlift their own couch or something, and for you might have to throw somebody on the couch before you deadlift it. But there are certainly going to be some ways, at least, to try and adapt to all the training you need to be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, flip side, we might see the advent of the 250-pound 4.640 lineman. So see what comes of this season.
Could be a new world. You never know.
Yeah, exactly. You guys will be as much of a run threat as you are pass blockers.
Yeah, a bunch of track stars out there.
Well, actually, you did catch a touchdown at one point that I believe got called back.
He got called back,
which I was furious about.
Oh, me too.
Well, yeah, I imagine you more than me.
Yeah, that was kind of, we all like to think of ourselves as athletes, so we get a chance to show it, and it doesn't work out. It's not always fun, but.
And keep in mind, this is for those of you listening, this is a professional football player saying that he got to feel like an athlete once in the entire season, so it puts me to shame.
Oh gosh.
Outside of training, though, obviously you are able to work from home, which I think is mentally, especially being sort of part-time in that 3 days a week schedule, kind of a boon in that you do have some structure that stays and are able to work towards something that you're working towards. But how have you managed to stay efficient and on task at home? Because I know that one can be tough too, especially if you're not used to it.
Yeah, there's definitely a learning curve with it, and I think what really helped me is my dad, actually, for a long time, up until a few years ago, he had a job that he was increasingly, as I grew up, he started to work more like in Toronto and out of a home office in Edmonton. So like when we were in high school, he was like 1 week in Toronto, 1 week in Edmonton. So he kind of knew the deal with working from home. So I had to kind of lean on him a bit. And for me, it's kind of just like, I think I've done a good job of understanding when it gets a little tempting to like go outside for a walk and you just need a break, like just take it. And instead of, being unproductive thinking about it, just take that 15 minutes and go, and come back to work. And so it's, yeah, the enemies are the couch. The couch is an enemy for sure, with working from home, but it's, it hasn't been too bad staying on task. And, thankfully I've been busy enough, with only being 3 days a week that like I need to get things done on timelines. And so it's kind of a bit of a force to make me. It's like, you have to get this done by the end of the day, Thursday or whatever. So I don't really have any pro tips for working from home yet. It's only been 2 weeks, but
deadlines sound like an important one. So I'll peel that out of what you just said. And, keep yourself on deadlines is important. Whether you can convince yourself to stick to your own deadlines might be a slightly different challenge, but a pretty good one. And then with the rest of the shutdown, like obviously gyms have been closed down and you're adapting to that, and the office has been shut down. You've adapted to that. Have there been any more surprising things that have been difficult for you?
I think just the general lack of things to do can be tricky. Like we'll be, like this just we're kind of used to being, when I say we, like me and Tiana, we're not really like go out to the bar people, but we're used to being able to like go out and get a cup of coffee somewhere and sit down and chat for an hour. And kind of having that taken away is like a bit of a, she comes home from work sometimes and we just kind of look at each other and it's like, what are we going to do now? So that's kind of a challenge, and just kind of keeping yourself entertained and, mentally active. But I'd say that's a bit of a challenge. So we'll see how it develops over time. But
have you come up with any good strategies to this point, or still kind of working on it?
Still kind of working on it. It's been a lot of Netflix. The walks outside are really good. I kind of, now that the weather's starting to turn a little bit in Edmonton, being able to do like my little band workouts and stuff out on our patio. We've got like a big support pillar that you can tie bands to and stuff. So that's a good way to get some fresh air. But it's really just kind of, dealing with the boredom and kind of trying to make it productive, read a few books and puzzles, stuff like that. And, doing the best I can.
Absolutely. And I think most people are in that situation to this point. So you're far from alone there. But it's been interesting.
So.
Yeah. Well, interesting to hear how you've adapted, and then, compared to how somebody else might adapt, or, because you have some very specific things that you need to be training for on some sort of a timeline. Again, in theory, assuming that there's a season, and really hoping, but I'm hearing all kinds of projections anywhere from like ending in August to ending in, somebody was saying September. They're not 100% sure they're going to be back up and running by then. And I think a lot of the government programs are planning to go till at least September. So I'm assuming that we're kind of considering that somewhere in the realm of possibility that we might end up missing the beginning of the season.
And that's kind of, to go back to another challenge, I think that's a big one training wise, is that you kind of have, it was kind of getting to that time where it's like, time to get to the right weight for training camp and get yourself all primed up and ready to go. Because you had a firm date that it was like, okay, middle of May, you're in Ottawa doing training camp. And now it's kind of like, when am I preparing for, and when do I go about getting there, and what should I, where should I be weight wise and training wise? What should I be doing? So, and it's kind of a question that no one has the answer to. So
I'm assuming at this point, at least the team is trying to keep you as up to date as they can be.
Yeah, I think they're doing their best to kind of keep us in the loop, and so is the Players Association. But just like a lot of employers too, I'm sure that it's kind of one of those things that everybody's kind of like hoping it ends soon, but no one really knows. So I guess we'll see.
Now, another one actually that you're in a unique situation for in a lot of ways is your weight is really important. And, especially in the off season, I know you want to be a little bit lighter so that you're carrying less weight. And then as the season ramps up, you want to make sure that you're heavy enough that you're, able to hold your ground and also have some leverage to use against people. How are you dealing with food? With like, obviously restaurants are closed, but at least closed to sit down here. I think it's the same for you guys, or are you guys closed?
Yeah, I think we're like takeout and delivery.
Okay. Same in Ottawa right now. But with the shutdown, is food been a challenge for you at all, or are you pretty much business as usual there?
Yeah, fortunately, kind of like the way that I usually operate food-wise is usually like a big run to Costco and then throw, freeze everything and kind of take it out as I need it. And, just a big bag of rice and just usually steamed veggies is a lot of my diet. So in that sense, it's not too bad. And I don't like to eat out a whole lot. So I'm kind of, saved from that and all the, like when you saw some grocery stores like running out of meat entirely, like I'm comfortable probably for another 2-3 weeks with what I have in the freezer. So in that sense, like it was kind of fortunate that just the system I had was one that suited it well.
It paid off in terms of this. I don't know how things were with you, but I know the local Costco actually got shut down one of the first days of the overall shutdown because there was like a 3-hour line and people were getting into fist fights, and Barhaven's crazy.
Yeah, I heard about the Barhaven one actually. Yeah, I saw it on Twitter, and I was like, oh my god. Yeah, we ours is similar. We didn't. I don't know if we had any fights, but yeah, it's like stuff was stocked out like 20 minutes after they opened, and all that. So, but food wise, yeah, it is. It's tricky. Just to like when the time comes to restock, we'll have to kind of see where things are at. Because yeah, it's something that to manage your weight and to kind of have your body composition the way you want it. You got to eat a lot of meat and a lot of rice and stuff like that. And if it stops, now you're in tough. And if you can't get what you need or the amount of what you need, it's tricky. So for now, I'm good. I guess we'll see how. If things change, it could be trouble. But maybe I'll be the guy getting in fist fights at Costco over a stack of ground beef.
I feel like if you're that guy, then most people will just back off immediately.
I hope I can scare someone out of a thing of ground turkey. I guess it'll depend on who else needs it, but yeah.
The camera doesn't show it all that well, but yeah, Mark is significantly larger than I am. Our in-person meetings, it's a lot easier to see, but I'm usually looking way up. This is actually nice because the computer screen means we're at eye level, and that might be the first time this has happened, come to think of it.
Oh gosh, yeah, I get that. Get that a lot at work.
Yeah, I imagine the provincial government out there isn't somewhere where a lot of people are lineman size.
It's always at football we always joke about, like for me when I go around the team, like I'm one of the smaller old linemen there. And you kind of forget that you're bigger than like 99% of the population, and then you walk into like a regular office,
I remember,
kind of scares you a little bit.
Actually, I can't remember where he is like right now, but when I was at Queens, I remember ending up side by side with Matt Carroll. I don't know if you're familiar with Matt, but he was just under 7 feet, I think. Ended up down to the Bengals for a little while, and then he was back up, and I honestly, I kind of haven't followed his career carefully, but it was honestly the most straight vertical I've ever had to look to interact with somebody, and it was just crazy. So,
oh my God.
And, for better or worse, he'd be, one of those guys that made you feel a little bit small, but.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always embarrassing to be like, you're 300 pounds and you're the small guy in the group. But, yeah.
Yeah, I've never even hit 300, so I can't speak to that. But on the same token, hopefully I don't hit 300, because if I'm hitting 300, we've got some issues.
Got trouble.
All being said, with everything that you've kind of picked up so far, and I know we're early into this, and I know you said you haven't necessarily nailed everything down because, like the rest of us, you're sort of in a transition phase. Anything that you've found really valuable, or any advice you'd really give to somebody who might be training for an uncertain football season coming up, or any sport really coming up in the fall that they're not sure about?
I think, like, for me, kind of a thing that I'm trying to take on is keeping it really broad and really general for right now, and just like, because I can't, max out, like we're not going to be playing with like different percentages and different, kind of the more stuff that I don't really understand, but stuff that, the guy that built my program, stuff that he understands. Like, it's not as much playing with that. I think it's more so for right now is keeping everything maintained and kind of getting yourself as ready as you can be in terms of like conditioning wise and health wise, and keeping the strength so that when that gym does reopen and you can get back in and do all your training that you're used to, then you're ready to hit the ground running, and you're not spending the first 3 weeks trying to get yourself back ready to go. You can just get in and you'll be 3 weeks ahead of all the other schmucks that didn't take care of business during this time. So
well, that's pretty good.
That's kind of what I've got in mind right now, is kind of keeping myself ready to go for when things, for when the light turns green, I guess.
I like that. And then the other one I'll actually tack onto that is in terms of trying to stay motivated, because I know it's going to be really tough when you're not certain exactly what's going to happen, or if you're, I mean, hopefully we do have some bit of a season. I can't imagine it go on quite that long, but not necessarily knowing, quite honestly, if or when the season will start. How are you keeping the motivation up?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because it's true. Yeah, it's tough when someone takes away that date of like, be ready for this time, and it's kind of like, just, you know, be ready for whenever. Makes it tough to stay motivated. But to me, I think it's just a matter of, you know, realizing that the reality of the situation right now is that once things open, they're going to open fast. And whether you're a football player or you're in some other discipline, once things, like, at least in my expert opinion, when things start to come back, they're going to come back very quickly, and the people that are ready are going to be at a very strong advantage. Especially in football, I think, like, you know, with the delayed season, like, it's going to be like training camp might be a week, and then you might be playing regular season games. And the guys that kind of took care of business over however many months are going to be the guys that in that week kind of rise to the top and are going to be able to kind of solidify themselves in that top group. So to me, that's kind of what's got me motivated, is like, this is the time where I can get ahead and kind of position myself to be, you know, able to kind of take advantage of a, you know, a really good opportunity, honestly, is what it's going to end up being for those that are ready to take it. So I think, yeah, the biggest thing, if you can stay healthy right now and make a little bit of progress and maintain, you can be at a huge advantage when it ends.
Well, I think honestly that mindset is going to apply to a lot more than just football. I think in business it's going to be the same. The businesses that are ready to go when they're allowed to open up are going to have a huge advantage over everything else. Again, other athletes, whether it be fighting or soccer or hockey, football, obviously, as things start to ramp up and nobody knows if or when they will, the ones who have stayed healthy and in shape are going to be the ones that are able to dominate. So I think that's great all around life advice right now too.
Yeah, I think, yeah, like you said, whether you're in business or buying a house or anything, I think it's a good time to be, yeah, kind of preparing for the uptick. It'll come eventually. So.
Well, I think that is a great motivational piece to leave off on. Thank you so much, Mark, for coming on today. It's been great to talk to you again. Hopefully when or if the season does start, check Mark out playing for the REDBLACKS. He, I mean, for a young player, has been incredible and instrumental for the REDBLACKS for the past couple seasons. So I can only hope to see him do even more. And we have a franchise lineman going on here.
Well, thanks for having me, Brian.
I love you on social media. I feel like half of the posts I see are Mark Korte on the REDBLACKS.
It's probably too much. I think there's too much, but that's my humble opinion.
Well, you've got a very marketable face too, is part of that.
Boyish good looks.
You're that all Canadian star with boyish good looks and the skills to match.
Well, I guess. I don't know about that, but we'll see.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Mark.